is my resentment based in truth? I think that's huge, because I think a lot of times we can be mad or resentful towards someone when we don't even know the full story, or we don't, we don't have all of the facts, or we saw a fraction of what happened, and
then you create a reality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And so just the benefit of the doubt, like you said, giving that other person the benefit of the doubt. Welcome, everybody, to another Passages podcast episode. I'm here with my sister, Grace Ann, and my good friend, Nico. And today, we're going to talk about resentment and why, in the face of resentment, forgiveness is your best move. Resentment is something that's tough, because when somebody does something wrong to you, or something that, maybe hurts other people's perception of you, or just does something like betrays you or anything like that, we can build this resentment in our minds, where either we're thinking about how we want to address it with them, or we're just angry at how they treated us or what they did. And it's something like true resentment is something that can really just take over our thoughts. And I've had it at times where I felt like I was wronged by somebody in a certain situation. And just like whenever I found myself by myself, or at the gym in the morning, or in the car, if I wasn't distracted or whatever, my mind would just carry me back to that feeling of pain or frustration that I had. And so it could just it really would like ruminate over time. And I'd find myself getting more angry, and my grudge be getting bigger, not me like working it out in my own mind. And so I kind of wanted to talk about some of our experiences, not getting into too many details, but with resentment, and how we can get to a place of forgiveness and what the result of that can be. So I want to ask you guys, is there any time that you've had resentment towards somebody, and how did you deal with it? How did the resentment affect you?
I mean, yeah, without getting into specifics, I'm sure we all have some sort of resentment or bitterness towards someone or something at one point or another in our lives. I can't think of any specific situation, but I mean, I can recall there's always someone that you just don't vibe with. And it's either just their personality type, or it's their ideas or perspective on life, or on something that you just disagree with, or it's something that they do or said to you or someone that you love. And so it's really easy for that to just take hold of your life and take up real estate in your mind and your heart. And it really does bring you down. Like I've noticed that not only in myself, but I can tell when someone has like a grudge towards someone else, and how deteriorating it is to them. Yeah. And like you can see it physically. Oh yeah. But yeah, for me, I mean, I've definitely had seasons in my life where there's someone that just their presence annoys me because of something that they did or the way they act. Yeah. And I think that's just human nature. Like it's just natural for us to feel that way, unfortunately, because of the broken world we live in, the sin in our lives. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into it a lot more in this episode of like how to deal with that, or how to forgive someone. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have any like specific situations, but.
Well, there's one thing that just came to my mind. So I am not going to share a story of resentment that I held for somebody, because I don't feel like this is the right place or time to share that. And I'm not going to name names, but I do have a story of one time that I was scared of something that I did, and it was going to cause resentment from somebody else on me. And so that was something that I really struggled with. And this one in particular, so I don't know if y'all know this, but David Todd and I went to the same, I guess all three of us went to the same university. But my first year at the university, David Todd and I shared a car. We shared his truck. So my parents didn't my parents didn't send me with a car. I just kind of drove his because he was on the football team. He didn't really use it anywhere.
I didn't use it a lot.
He didn't drive it. So it was basically my car, and we were both going home for the summer, and he asked me if I could drop his car off at his friend's house because we couldn't leave it on campus, and his friend was staying there for the summer, so it wasn't going to be a problem. So I went to drop his car off at his friend's house the last day of school, and
I already left.
he had already left.
Okay.
And so I was pulling it into his backyard. It was probably 9:00 at night, so there was no lights. There was trees in his backyard, and I sideswiped the entire truck
Oh, against the tree?
against the tree.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Sideswiped it, knew it was bad, like heard crunch, knew it was so bad.
Heard crunch.
I didn't even get out to look at it. My friend was taking me to the airport, so it happened. My friend didn't see it, and so
Wait, your friend was in the car with you?
no, it wasn't in the car. He
Oh.
drove like behind me to like take me to the airport after. And so I sideswiped the whole truck, knew it was bad, didn't even look at it because I didn't want to deal with it. And I was scared to tell my brother. The whole summer goes by. I didn't tell a soul
Wow.
because I was terrified that
It
David
was
Todd
a long time.
Wow.
Like,
I
it
was terrified he was going to be mad at me and
Yeah.
resent me for it. And so the week before we went back to school, I sat him and my parents down and I said, I got to tell you a secret. I sideswiped David Todd's entire truck. And
You didn't tell
I
anyone
didn't
for
look
like 2 months?
I was terrified. I didn't
No,
want him
we
to
were
hate
on-
me all
we
summer.
were on our way. We were on our way back. So I think it was Christmas break, but we were on our way back and we went to visit some friends in Indiana. So we like flew to Indiana because it was way cheaper to fly there. And then we drove with them because they went to Liberty.
Yeah.
And on the drive there, we like stopped at like Chipotle or something. And they all went to get in the car and she was like, hey, David Todd, 1 second.
You told him at Chipotle?
told me
I
like
could
one
have
of these.
sworn I told you
No,
at
Mom and
home.
Dad were not. No, I was on the way. And
So you don't tell anyone for 2 months and then you think Chipotle on the middle of the road?
I was scared that he was going to be mad at me and hold a grudge the whole break. And I wanted to enjoy time with my brother.
What was your reaction when she
Well,
told
she
you?
was like, I hit the tree, but I didn't look, so I don't know how bad it is. And I remember like I was stuck on this idea of like, why didn't you use a flashlight? Like I like said like, but you could have checked. She's like, so I don't know. It could be like really small or it could be
Really
be pretty bad, but I don't really know.
Was it
Newsflash,
pretty
it was
bad?
really
It was
bad.
so bad. It was over like 2 panels. Like it was the whole
He
side.
had to replace the bed of his truck.
the whole
like
side
the-
of
Wow.
the truck had to get, because I think it was like over the gas.
Were you
like,
bitter
like-
towards Grace Ann after that?
I was definitely bitter while I was like looking at places to get it fixed. Cause like, you know.
Wait,
it
I have a
takes-
question. So you told him in the middle of your road trip back to campus?
I could have
Yeah.
sworn I told him before
So you
that.
guys sat in the car the rest of the way, like after you having told him that?
Yes, that's how I remember it. I'm pretty.
That must have been pretty rough.
I don't think
definitely at least told Mom before that.
you might have told Mom, yeah, but I had no idea.
She kept my
But-
secret. She's a real one.
But also she
Shout out,
didn't
Mom.
like, she was like, it could be nothing.
Yeah.
And so it was more like, I got to get there and see. Like, I wasn't really thinking about like how mad I was at her or whatever.
Yeah.
So how did you
But-
let go of your resentment and forgive?
He hasn't.
I mean,
He's
just once
still-
it was fixed and it was done, like I didn't have to pay for it. So that was,
And I
good.
did
But,
it
like,
yeah.
again.
but I did have to, yeah.
You did it again?
Yeah. So, well, so I remember I was getting mad because my dad was like, you need to make sure you take your truck to like 3 different places and get like bids because you
Yeah.
know how some are like.
Yeah.
And so it took me like 2 days to like get all that. So like during that time was when I was bitter because I was like, the only reason I'm doing this is because, and then, you know, I didn't have my truck for like a week or 2 while
Yeah.
they were- whatever. But then I think it was like the next summer. So like I
You
don't
did it
think it was a
again.
year
Christmas break,
later.
and
Yeah,
then
I
he
don't think it
drove
was a
it
year
home for
later.
the summer.
So I drive it home, and then we went to film Passages stuff. I think it was in Arizona.
Yeah.
And yeah. So when we did our Sedona episode, so I leave. So my truck's home, and I get home, and the truck's not in the driveway.
At least I took you to the
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, so
What happened the second time? You sideswiped something? Again? A tree?
a column.
Wow.
going
In
into
our
their
front yard.
parents' driveway.
Was it not a newer truck? Like it wasn't beeping at you?
I could have. I don't know.
It did have beepers.
Not
Yeah.
on the side though.
But so I'm like,
So
wait-
I'm not riding with you.
yeah, so I was like,
anyway.
where's my truck? And then they're like, it's at the shop. We're already like taking care of it.
That's awesome.
I was like, what? So, and then here's where
they made me pay for that one too.
I still have the only scenario where I still have resentment for that is there's like just a running joke in my family that I'm a bad driver.
Oh, gotcha.
And she eggs it on almost more than anybody else. And I've never crashed my own truck.
That's a good argument.
And so I'm like, you've crashed my truck more than I have. Why are you giving me a hard time?
Well then have you crashed your own car at all?
Oh, like 4 times.
Okay. Because it would be even funnier if you've never crashed your car, but only David's car.
Yeah. No, I have.
Yeah. I've had one crash, and it was like the week I got my license in a parking lot.
Nice.
But yeah.
Well, that's pretty funny. Thank you for sharing that.
But there wasn't like a.
Well, it's crazy that your truck got stolen recently too.
Yeah.
So
none of it matters because my truck got stolen like a month ago. So, yep. I haven't even replaced that yet. So I'm still. Yeah, I have resentment towards those people.
Have you driven his truck since the second time you crashed it?
I don't think so.
Probably not. Yeah, because she got her car in Lynchburg and she's had one, and it just was never like it was just like a short period of time where she was
just a year that we
for some reason driving my truck.
Twice.
Yeah, but.
So was there actually a period of time where you felt true resentment towards Grace Ann, or not really because it was getting fixed?
Probably for other.
I don't know. It was just more like little sister. You know, it is like it is what it is. At least it got fixed. Yeah. Like, you know, after the process of getting it fixed was done, it was fine. And like I knew she was sorry. Like it was, you know, I feel like resentment, at least maybe in my experience, most of the time I have resentment for somebody, they don't even know they did something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like where it's
that's so true.
Yeah.
That's how I usually
feel. It's like a comment that like they said in passing, or, you know, you're at dinner and like a comment was made and you're like,
and it just festers.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Like, why did you? Yeah. And so a lot of times I think one of the best things to do to avoid or prevent resentment is to let that person know that
like address it.
Yeah, because I think there's a good amount of the time where they don't even know, and you're just sitting over here just boiling, just like mad, like
isn't it funny
they did
though?
that on purpose or whatever.
Isn't it funny though how like something so small can have such tremendous power over us if we don't deal with it?
Right. Well, I don't necessarily think it's the one thing that's small. I think it's multiple small things that add up over time.
It can certainly build up. Yeah, if you just bottle it up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like something said, you're like, what do they mean by that? Why would they say that? Why would they try to do, you know, I don't get that. Mm-hmm. And I do think a lot of times it's not even noticed. And I did have a time, a period of time in my life where I was not super good at handling those kinds of things. And, and so I would just let it just build. And then finally, I don't know what it was, but I just, I don't know if I talked to a mentor about it or what it was. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to start like telling people.
Yeah.
Like, and, you know, it might lead to awkward conversations or whatever. It's definitely not the easiest, especially if you don't like confrontation, but, and there's a way to do it. There's obviously like a way to do it, and that's not easy, and I probably haven't been the best at that either. Mm-hmm. But just like, hey, you know what you said, I don't know what you meant by that, but if it meant this, like that, I don't like how that came across, or you know, that hurts my feelings and makes me, you know, honestly, that makes me angry. You know, I've had conversations recently with close people in my life where I was like, hey, you know, I told you if I ever had an issue, I would tell you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this is me telling you and letting it go. And I've been harboring some resentment. Like I had a conversation very recently with somebody like I've been frustrated with you about this.
Is that why we're talking about this right now?
It's actually not. I actually just remembered that it's not. I don't remember what ended up like. It was not a personal experience that made me think about this, but it has been something that I think maybe I've struggled with at points in my life. And so, just learning like, okay, if I'm just going to address it and I'm going to say it before I let it build up, and at least you know about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the other person knows about it, then you can work on it together, and you at least know.
And as tough as those conversations can be, it always is better that way than you holding it to yourself and not addressing it, I feel like.
Yeah.
Sometimes depends on your delivery of how you approach the person.
There's a right way.
Right. Well, some people have the personality to do it. I would say David Todd has more of a personality to have those conversations. I, on the other hand, have to be very careful because I'm more blunt.
Yeah.
I don't get caught up in the feelings of it or how I say something. So I just like kind of
Give it to them straight.
Yeah, just give it to them straight because that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
I don't think about emotions as much as other people do. And so there's a right and a wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
And if you know the right way to do it, go for it. But if you don't and you tend to be more blunt, maybe think and pray about it and type out a script if that helps you. But
well, I'd love to get more into that because like you said, it might not come as natural to some of us, but what are some good practices to get better at that?
I would say, like, even though we're talking about the idea of, you need to tell the person, you need, or you need to address it. Like, we are saying that in that it generally, in most cases, obviously there's exceptions, generally it's the right thing to do. But I would say that it's not the first thing that you should do.
no, there needs to be
you need to be able to, like,
Yeah.
I'm that way. I need to, like, cool off
Cool
and
down.
make sure that, like, I don't want my emotions to still be in play when it's addressed.
Right.
I can still be hurt by it, but I'm not on the emotional frustration or anger of what has just happened. It's not fresh. Like, you need to wait a few days, pray about it. God, give me wisdom in addressing this. And a lot of times that alone, I would say more often than not, that can dissipate the resentment. I've had times where it's like, I need to say something, I'm frustrated, and just praying about it and thinking about it, once those emotions go away, it's like, you know what, it's actually not that big of a deal. That will happen a lot.
Yeah.
And so in those cases, if you get over it, if you feel like you need to address it, you can. But sometimes, sometimes things can just be genuinely forgotten, and like, it happens. People make mistakes. I'm not angry about it, so I don't need to like make a big deal about it. I think that's a very real scenario, but you don't want so many things like that to happen where they build on each other and that becomes its own form of resentment as well.
Yeah.
So I think you want to address it, but it's not the first thing. Don't like,
especially if you're in a heated, like emotional state, you definitely don't want to react.
Yeah, because then, like Grace Ann was saying, like, you can do it the wrong way and it can blow up and become worse. And I've experienced that before. I've done it the wrong way, and so.
Yeah, well, and like Mom says, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't unsay words that you say. And so if you do it heated and you say something that you don't mean, you can't really take that back. I mean, yes, they can forgive you and you can recover from that, but that's always in the back of the person's head.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned some things are like easier to forget about. Like there doesn't need to necessarily be like an approach or a conversation about what was done or what was said. What would you say is the difference, like thinking from a biblical perspective, the definition of what forgiveness is, right? And God being Jesus being the ultimate example of forgiveness, for him forgiving our sins and, his crucifixion, his sacrifice.
Yeah.
What is the difference between like the biblical definition of forgiveness and like simply forgetting?
Yeah.
I think I actually have this in my notes because a lot of people put forgiving with forgetting, and that's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. You can still, have what they did in the back of your head and still know that's there and still, have your cautions or walls up if you need to have them depending on what the person did. But forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing peace over pain and letting God handle the justice. So just like cleaning it of yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
So I have the verse like Mark 11:25, which says, "And whenever you stand praying, forgive, if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father also who is in heaven may forgive you your trespasses." And this is a pretty general idea of like, hey, whenever you're praying, like think of the people that you can forgive. And I think this is such this verse emphasizes, I think, the power that resentment can hold, because it's like, hey, whenever you pray, make sure that resentment is eliminated from the equation by forgiving people. And there's obviously like, there's different types of forgiveness. Like, we cannot forgive people of their sins. We can forgive people of the things that they do to us.
Right.
But as far as like forgiving people for their sins, Jesus is the only one that can do that.
Yeah.
We see that in the New Testament where he declares that he is forgiving the sins of others, which is like one of the biggest claims of his declaration of being God. Like that is one of the biggest pieces of proof that Jesus is God, is that he forgave people of their sins.
And he's the only one that can do that.
Right. So if you're asking for forgiveness, you need to ask the person that you did it to for forgiveness, and ask God for forgiveness, because you've sinned against God and that person.
Right.
So there is a difference there. And then the other, I like how you like pointed out the differences between like forgiving and forgetting. The other big thing that I learned that really helped me with resentment was for the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. That was huge, because forgiveness only needs to involve one person.
Right.
Reconciliation involves everybody included. So if I do something to you, reconciliation is, hey, I did something to you. Do you forgive me? And then you returning that forgiveness to me. Forgiveness, we mentioned how a lot of times the things that we can hold resentment for are for things that people don't even know they did.
Right.
Forgiveness does not have to involve the interaction with the other person.
Okay.
So if you did something to me, I can forgive you, and my forgiveness can totally be 100. You can totally be 100% forgiven I don't have to tell you about it. We don't have to have a hard conversation.
Right.
I can forgive you and let that go, and that is 100% my decision in my interaction. Now, we haven't reconciled. Right. We're not back necessarily on totally good terms, but from my perspective, you have been forgiven.
Okay.
So, if you're frustrated with somebody, the first thing to do is to forgive them. Hey, I forgive that person for what they did. Now, you got to use discretion when you talk to the person, like, hey, I forgive you for that. Because a lot of times, sometimes that can come off really the wrong way.
Yeah, totally.
Especially if they don't know what they did, and you're like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I've forgiven you for this. And they're like, what the heck?
If you're going to audibly say it to them, you need to have a conversation.
Without them having asked for it, it can be a little bit weird.
Yeah.
So
or knowing that there's anything going on.
Right. So, I think there's a context in which you can do that, and having that conversation, and just like, hey, look, I've been bitter for something that you did, and I need to let you know about that. But I also want you to know that I've already forgiven you for it, that I'm not holding it against you. But this is just me getting that off of my chest.
Yeah.
And because it's hurting me more than it's hurting you.
Yeah.
And so I need to forgive you. And I just wanted to let you know of that. Like, I think that there's a way to do that with good taste, but then, then reconciliation, say I said those things to you, we'd be like, hey, I didn't realize that I was doing that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to do that. Like, that would be a reconciliation conversation. So, learning that I could forgive somebody without necessarily having a conversation with them.
You can do it within your own heart. Right? Yeah.
Because, somebody can do something to you and not even think they did anything wrong. And when you address it to them, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that happens. That's probably the most frustrating instance of those issues. And that's where really resentment, it's like, they're doing this to me and they don't think what they're doing is wrong. And so then that's when it's like,
becomes bitterness.
How can I prove it to them that they're just, and so then that's where it's like, what, I'm going to forgive them because I'm never going to, even like silly instances, like the stuff with my truck, like I'm over it. It's how I made a joke on Sunday with because people were asking me at church, and I was like, I got up on the mic and I was like, look, if you have any questions, ask my wife because I'm moving on. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys for caring, but I'm getting over this.
Yeah.
And so don't talk to me.
No, that's good.
And then of course, 3 people asked me about it after, which is fine. But it was just a fun little conversation. Anyway.
Yeah.
but though, like, I'm never gonna meet the guys who stole my truck. Like,
You never know.
They're never gonna be. They're probably never gonna be sorry.
They might
like,
come back for seconds.
Of course, yeah. There is an exception.
You are getting another Toyota.
Stop. No. So, but like, I don't know if I've forgiven them yet. Probably not. But like, I can move on, forget. Like, okay, forgive, forget, whatever. And it doesn't need to involve like, I don't have to see them face to face to be able to move on from it.
Right.
So, and that can apply. So there's a very big range of forgiveness and reconciliation and forgetting, which plays into the picture. That one gets a little complicated because it can be hard to forget, but but I think forgetting comes after reconciliation. So like maybe not.
You could forget.
You can forget and you can forgive and forget and not reconcile. That's true.
But then
I think it's easier.
I don't think you ever depending on what it is, if it's something big, you don't forget. You just move on because you can't.
It's okay to not
Forgetting is
forget
more
as
of
long
like
as you guys are working it out and working towards becoming better for each other.
Yeah,
you know?
but I don't think just forgive and forget. The forget part is not really realistic in a lot of it. But you forget in the fact of like how you treat them, how you love them, the grudges that you hold. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the forgetting part is more of like a symbolic, like, hey, I'm not holding this against you.
Right.
It's more of that, which, forgiveness has an aspect of that.
Right.
But like, hey, I'm forgetting. It's like, I'm now acting as if that never happened.
Yeah. You got to move forward.
Right. But there are cases where like, if there's somebody in your life who has constantly wronged you and it's it's been very clear they don't have your best interest in mind, like, hey, I forgive you for doing that, but I'm also gonna like remember that you have a track record of
just
like
set a boundary.
Yeah. And so I'm not gonna forget it. You're forgiven, but like I'm not gonna pretend it didn't happen because then I'm opening myself up to be potentially taken advantage of again. And hopefully you don't have a lot of people or any people in your life like that.
Yeah.
But that is an area of discernment where it's like, hey, if this person keeps on like messing with me or doing something like that hurts me, at some point, like I gotta use a little bit of wisdom and figure, hey, I'm not gonna put myself out there to this person. I'm not gonna give them the opportunity to do that. They're forgiven, but like maybe it's time to.
There's definitely levels to it.
Absolutely.
A true friend, someone that truly cares about you, is going to work towards not doing that anymore, right? Not making you feel that way anymore. And so they're going to take what you have to say, take your forgiveness to heart, and really try and not do that.
Yeah.
But there's always people that continue to do it over and over again and kind of disregard the way that it makes you feel. And then at that point, you got to make a decision like, hey, I don't need this in my life. Like, we've already had this conversation multiple times. You haven't changed one bit. It really bothers me. It really hurts me. It's affecting me and my family or whatever. Yeah. You got to make a decision at the end of the day. Like maybe it's not smart to spend too much time together or, unfortunately there are relationships that you have in life that come to that point. But we always pray for reconciliation.
There's a lot of discernment and wisdom that goes into that whole process because you're dealing with a lot of emotions. You're dealing with personal relationships. You're dealing with hurt.
Yeah.
And so being able to handle it in a wise way that benefits everybody involved is super hard.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who's going through this on either side, if you've done something to somebody that you feel bad for, if you've crashed their truck or something, or if you, that's a little hint of resentment.
I was about to say,
jab right there.
You listen to yourself.
So if, from either side, praying for discernment and wisdom. And I think you can even pray ahead of time if you're listening to this podcast and, maybe you don't have anything at the moment that you're holding resentment for or anything, but just praying, God, help me not to be resentful. Help me to, when the situation arises, give me wisdom. Give me discernment.
Patience.
Help me to handle the situation in the conversation with grace. Help me to be quick to forgive. And
it can also be helpful praying for that person too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially if you're planning on like bringing it up to them, addressing that moment, praying for that person ahead of time, that they may have a receiving ear and a softened heart to receive what you have to say, and that the
I think
conversation
that is
goes well.
always 100% of the time the first.
It changes the posture of your heart too, and the way you see them, because it shows you share that grace.
Right. Well, I also want to point out that sometimes it doesn't happen immediately. You can say that you forgive them, and you can like think you've let go in your head, and then it keeps popping up. Sometimes that's a working battle. Sometimes you're hurt by that person, or you have so much resentment because of what they did, or the feelings. Like when we say, forgive, reconcile, it's not really just a switch that you flip on.
Definitely not.
You have to actively work against it.
It takes time.
Yeah, and then slowly it'll get better, and you will
even if
forgive.
it's like hey, this is the beginning of my intent to begin the forgiveness journey. Like, hey, I forgive you, and I'm not totally there yet, but like I'm committed to exactly. I'm committed to working towards that.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think you necessarily have to tell them that.
No.
But like that's a battle that I'm working to forgive you, Nico.
Yeah, right.
Like you got to earn it.
Stages.
Okay.
Whatever
you say.
There's 4 stages.
Right.
You're at 1 right now. But but just keeping that in the back of your mind. If you get discouraged because you're like, I thought I forgave this person, let it go in my heart, but it still keeps popping up. I think that's normal.
Yeah.
Well, on the topic of reconciliation, there was one thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's making sure that people understand that when you forgive someone, you're not necessarily condoning what they did and their behavior. Right. You're not telling them like, hey, it's okay. You can do it again. I forgive you. Yeah. But forgiveness goes a lot deeper than that. So I don't know if we want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, typically reconciliation involves an apology and or repentance in some way, which means a commitment to turn from whatever you've done to say, hey, like saying sorry means I'm sorry that I did it, and also I'm going to put my best effort forward to not do it again. So if that trust gets broken, then that becomes a whole different situation as well, where okay, I'm not gonna condone your actions or put you in a place where you can hurt me in that way, essentially. And so and the ultimate end game reality to that situation is maybe you just need that there are going to be people in your life at times that you just can't trust. Yeah. And you can forgive them over and over again, but it's not, they aren't mature enough or aren't able to treat you in such a way where they really should be a part of your life,
or they don't have good intentions towards you.
Yeah, and you hate to say you hate to say that, but
there's
sometimes
people out there like that.
There are people in your life who just want to see your downfall or just want to make you try and look bad or whatever. And so sometimes you have to let those people go. Yeah. And yeah, it's not fun. But I can't just keep I can forgive you time and time again. And the Bible does say to continuously forgive, and you are forgiving them. You're never going to stop forgiving them. But what you are doing is you stop putting them in a place where in your life where they can continue to hurt you. Yeah. And so because I feel like saying that could people could think, oh no, you're always supposed to forgive, and yes, you are always forgive the person. That forgiveness never runs out. Jesus' forgiveness for us never runs out.
But you can also protect yourself and not put yourself in that position with that person to where they can keep hurting you or disrespecting you or
right, because then you're going to find yourself living in resentment and keep getting hurt. And so sometimes there are, like you mentioned earlier, there are boundaries that need to be set, and so depending on who that person is in your life, you have to make those calls. Luckily, I haven't, outside of maybe some fringe friends in college or whatever, where they did something that I didn't think was something that a friend would do. And I was like, okay, I don't think you're the type of person in my life who has my best interest as a friend. So I think our friendship is kind of run its course. Outside of that, luckily I've never had to do that. Yeah. But yeah, it is a realistic course of action if you get to that place. Again, you still forgive them. But yeah.
Well, forgiveness is obviously very liberating, not only to the forgiver, but the one being forgiven. But I wanted to talk a little bit, maybe as a closing thought, how freeing it could be spiritually, instead of being shackled to, the bitterness and resentment that we've been talking about. But actually forgiving someone is oftentimes more positive for the one giving the forgiveness than the one actually receiving it.
Right.
Because you're no longer holding on to those burdens, that resentment, that negative feeling that's like holding you down, that weight on your chest.
But when you're in it, because I've gone through a season of life where I resented somebody, and there's just nothing you can do or say that makes it better, and you think like that's the only way. It's just going to be like this forever, and you sit and you fester, and you don't realize that until you've forgiven them, until you've fully been healed and like let go of it.
Sometimes it's hard to see in the moment.
Yeah.
It's like you have blinders on still, or it just affected you so deeply that you have a hard time even giving him the benefit of the doubt. And
Right.
That is another like kind of little side point that I do want, because I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember somebody in my life telling me like, when you have feeling towards resentment, like there is or maybe it didn't even have to do with resentment, but I think it applies, is like a thought process that we can go through. And one of them was, is my resentment based in truth? I think that's huge, because I think a lot of times we can be mad or resentful towards someone when we don't even know the full story, or we don't, we don't have all of the facts, or we saw a fraction of what happened, and
then you create a reality.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All those.
Exactly. And so just the benefit of the doubt, like you said, giving that other person the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to hold resentment towards that person, so I'm going to assume the details that I don't know are good, for lack of a better way to explain it. Like, I'm not going to assume that they did it out of bad intention. I'm going to assume that they didn't even understand how it was hurting me. Yeah. So I think it gets really dangerous when we start to like place other people's intentions into their actions, because we don't know what they were thinking. We don't know why they did that. So when we start to say they did that to get back at me for this, or they did that to hurt me on purpose, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's really where you get worked up, where it's like, maybe they were thinking this way. Maybe it wasn't an intent to hurt my feelings. Maybe they were going through a different thought process that I don't even understand.
That's why it's so important to be quick to forgive and slow to speak, because if you, like you said, put those intentions in that person's actions and create this reality around something that you don't even have the full picture of, that can be very dangerous, especially if you react based off of emotions in that moment.
So that's why a conversation is also helpful to talk and just say, hey, this is what I'm holding resentment for. This is why. And then maybe that gives them a chance, like, no, that actually, no, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that. And this is kind of the context that I did that in. Maybe it doesn't make it better, but at least you know. And so I think those are all parts of it. Like, before you hold resentment towards somebody, make sure you know the truth of what actually happened, because that's the silliest type of resentment, is when it's not even based in truth.
Yeah, it's foolish.
But I also think when you're going into a conversation with somebody, willing to forgive them, and going into the conversation telling them that you're going to forgive them, that shouldn't really change based on their reaction. Like, you should expect them to have a good reaction or a bad reaction. It doesn't really matter, because what matters is that you're letting go of it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you tell people you forgive them and something hurt you, and they don't take it the right way, and it blows up. So going into it with an attitude, I don't know how they're going to respond, but this is going to be my outcome no matter what, is also beneficial.
Yeah, you're not responsible
for how they react.
Yeah, that's a really mature kind of way to walk into those conversations. Like, it's not conditional,
right?
On how they.
I've made up my mind. I'm forgiving you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, forgiveness is highly recommended. We
thumbs up for forgiveness.
Definitely encourage people listening and watching this to, like, think about the people that you maybe not have forgiven yet, and think about the resentment and bitterness you might have towards certain people. Really pray about it. Pray that the Lord seek your heart, and that you seek His heart for, his will, and his will is for you to let go of some of those things that you're still holding on to that might have been done to you in your past. But God has like so much more in store for you in the future, and he wants you to move forward from those things, and he wants you to grow alongside those people. So yeah, I definitely want this to be an encouraging conversation for people to realize the importance of forgiveness, and with Jesus being the biggest example of forgiveness and forgiving our sins. And because he forgave us, it allows us to forgive one another. So for those listening, at some point in your life, we know you've harbored resentment for something, whether it's a little comment or something that you've been hurt by deeply even. And so we hope that this conversation encouraged you to pray, especially. I think that's our biggest weapon against resentment is prayer for ourselves and how we handle it, prayer for the other person that's involved in this situation. And so we hope that we encourage you with that. We hope that maybe we've given you a few ideas as to how to handle it, how to have those conversations. I know we didn't get into many details, but I think that just the overall message of forgiveness, of forgetting, of reconciliation, I think that those are ways that we can handle it and move on. And it's not easy, it's going to take time, but we hope that you were blessed by this conversation. And if you have any instances where God helped you work through resentment, let us know in the comments. We'd love to see those and be encouraged by those as well. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Passages podcast.